nice dream to be the best in NASCAR?
It is. It's like I wanted to be a professional driver and I wanted to race cars. That's what I wanted to be, and I've achieved that here. But there's something burning inside of me that says you just got to keep going, mate. You just got to keep trying. And NASCAR's a big deal. 36 races a year compared to 13 championship rounds here in Australia. It's a big step up, and I'm all about racing. If I could race every weekend, that's my cup of tea, and that's what I'm going over to do. They have a very compact season of, I think, 36 races in 41 weekends, and it's a big challenge, and it's a lifestyle change. It's more about racing every week, less about sitting on the farm. But it's something that I dream to race, and I just want to race. I want to be a professional racer, and I want to challenge myself. I've said it. How many times I've said it in this interview? That's really.
You are.
Yeah, but that's what I'm all about.
Don't like that hair. I'm glad it's gone. You're watching RPM on 1. To run a leading NASCAR team requires a staggering amount of equipment, resources and money. Recently, Marcos Ambrose took our cameras inside Richard Petty Motorsport to give you a look around.
All right. G'day Australia, I'm Marcos Ambrose, 2003 and 4 V8 Supercar champion, now full-time NASCAR Sprint Cup driver for Richard Petty Motorsports. On behalf of One Sport and Gelbin, I just want to introduce you to what NASCAR is all about. We're going to go behind the scenes and have a look at our race shop and see how racing gets done here, NASCAR style. Now this building here is the Richard Petty Motorsports, but we're part of a larger complex. Right across the street is Roush Fenway Racing, and Richard Petty Motorsports actually has a technical partnership with Roush Fenway. They build all our cars, they give us technical support as well. We have an engineering share, and we also use Roush Yates engine, which is the best horsepower in the business. But come on, let's go and check inside and see what it's all about. Who's that pretty guy over there? This is Richard Petty Motorsports. There's about 100 people that work in this facility. We've got all the marketing staff here, all the front office stuff, administration's all done from the front, but the real good stuff's in the back. Now, the heart of any race team is the actual race shop. Now, NASCAR gets broken up into different areas of the race car build. There's a fabrication area which is housed across the street, a completely separate building. That's where the grinding and the welding and all the messy stuff gets done. This here is called the finish shop. It's where all the cars get assembled and they get ready to be sent to the racetrack. So we assemble the cars here, we set them up for the racetrack, and then we actually push them out the back door, put them on the truck, and that's how they go to the racetrack. Now, NASCAR is different to Australian V8 Supercar, and racing in general, we use a different car every week. Me on my team, 36 races, we're going to use around 15 different cars to get that done. This here is a 2-car team. Myself in the 9-car, Stanley Dewalt, and the 43, which is AJ Allmendinger, and he's in Best Buy, and that's Richard Petty's personal car, number 43. Now this is a great example right behind me of how our race team works. We have 3 different crews. The A team, that's the team that travels with me to the races. We do all the practices, set the car up, get it ready for the race. The B team, they fly in on race day and they're assigned to the pit crew. So they actually pit the car, ex-athletes, strong guys, extreme athletic ability to do the pit stops alone. And then of course there's the shop team. They don't travel anywhere, they just work on cars a month out. So they're really preparing the cars for when the A team come back on a Monday to get ready for the next week's race. This car here is my Loudon car. We're 2 weeks out. They're starting to put the motor in already. They're starting to fit out the interior of the car. Obviously, driver comfort's important. And when you start going across 10, 15 different styles of vehicle, the car seating position, steering wheel position is really hard to get the same every week. But it's the most important thing for the driver to feel comfortable, because if the driver's not comfortable, he can't go fast. Okay, this is called the setup plate. This is laser level, dead flat, everything is dead square. Whenever we get the car close to being ready to take the racetrack, we do our final setup on this plate. The guys crawling underneath and on top of this car are my A team, and they're getting ready for this weekend's race. And this is really where the most effort goes into. You got to really make sure that you get the car to the last thousandths of an inch in ride height travels, because NASCAR have a crazy rule book where the tolerances are really, really tight. And this is the only way that we can set the car up and know that when we get to the racetrack, it's going to pass inspection. Now, everything we do here, we build from scratch. There isn't one part on this car that isn't handmade. With the help of Roush Fenway, the cars start like this over here, and by the time we're finished with them, they're ready to race just like AJ's car right now. There's obviously a lot of components on a race car that gets worn out each week. We have a brand new motor each week, a brand new drivetrain that includes gearbox, axles, drivetrain, rear end gear, brakes. Everything's got to be serviced, everything has to be maintained. This example right here is the rear end housings. We actually refurb them here ourselves to make sure we can control our quality and components, and everything gets checked every week. There's nothing on a race car that doesn't get stripped down and checked after each and every event.
Whoa! Put your nose right in there.
We're actually in the front suspension area right now. The suspension changes week to week. That's because the NASCAR tracks are very different shapes and sizes week to week. We run 2.5 mile super speedways to a half-mile flat track. So the front suspension's always changing, the steering box is always changing. Right here we have a rack of steering boxes that are coming online. We obviously service and have things in rotation, but we have to constantly be changing the front setup and dimensions on the race car to suit the racetracks. It's a really tricky part of our sport because what works one week doesn't work the next. So you've got to be really on top of your game. You've got to make sure your logistics and parts and spares are all synced together week to week, because we have to plan out 6 to 8 weeks in advance. We have Sammy Johns here, the Director of Operations for Richard Petty Motorsports. Tell us a little bit about the logistics and the planning that goes into running a race team this size.
Oh, there's a lot to it. You know, we have a lot of moving parts. With all the employees, we have an A team, B team, and a shop crew that we have to constantly keep manage of and keep the schedule going. We usually work on a 6-week, work 6 weeks out. We're always looking 6 weeks in front of us when we're looking at our schedule and the car schedule within the shops and moving through our coordination with Roush on getting our manufacturing side of our cars done. We work on about a 6-week program there. Of course, when we sit down at the beginning of the year, we try to break the season down in quarters. So we're looking at quarter of the season, quarter of the season, quarter of the season. Make the crew chiefs give us a car plan on what cars they want to run and when from that aspect. So, but usually it's on a 6-week turnaround.
What's it like working for an Australian?
It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Communication barrier for sure. Not all, especially when he gets wound up. It's kind of hard to understand what he's saying.
Okay, we're here with Todd Parrott. He's my crew chief on the number 9 team. Todd, you've been in the sport since 1984 on a full-time basis. You've come from a racing family. Your brother's a crew chief. You're a crew chief. Your dad was an all-star crew chief back in the day. Got Richard Petty his 200th win. What's it like working for this little Australian, and what does it take to be a great crew chief?
You know, it just takes working hard, having a great team. It takes a lot of aspects of what we do, the engineering side, the pit crew, just all the teamwork, working with the driver, just all the logistics of the travel and getting the trucks prepared, the cars loaded and into the racetrack, and there's a lot of things that go on during a day or during a week, in this role, and working with you has been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it, and I hope we have a lot of success together.
Yeah, me too. I tell you what, you see some drivers and teams get on a streak and start doing a lot of winning. How much of that is the driver stepping up? How much of it is technology changing the teams?
I think it's a lot of both. I think the technology is it's a never-ending process. The wind tunnel time, the simulation, the engineering, the things that that goes into it, and when it comes down to the last 5-10 laps of the race, and hopefully everything is just right. You count on the driver to give you that last 100% to go get the win.
Yeah, NASCAR is great. It's a real team sport, unlike other forms of racing around the world. Without a great team around you, crew chief included, making great calls on the pit box during the race, keeping the logistics and the team functioning. We spend more time together than we do with our own wives and girlfriends, so it's a real challenge. We've got to get on with each other, and it's just a great thrill to be part of it. We're going to get to victory lane, right?
Yes, absolutely. And soon, I hope.
You got it. NASCAR 101, you just had it. That concludes our tour here at Richard Petty Motorsports. I hope you guys got a new insight on what it takes to run a Sprint Cup Series team at this level. The cars are great fun to drive. The sport's great fun to be part of. Thanks for tuning in.
Nice
Nice work. We're out of a gig. Marcus there talking with his crew chief Todd about making it to victory lane toward the end of that story there, and he will do that. The series is at Watkins Glen this weekend, and Ambrose will undoubtedly start one of the favourites there. We just need him to make that breakthrough in Sprint Cup, don't we?
Well, we do, but that behind the scenes there, that just blows me away. When they talk about 15 cars, like even in Formula One land, they might use 3 chassis for a year.
It's a whole new perspective.
It really does, and you look at the amount of work, you know, like I've been in a lot of V8 supercar teams and that, and they work hard and they've got a lot of stuff and a lot of cars and stuff. But when you talk about NASCAR, that means they're running 30 cars out of that shop for the 2 drivers.
And then behind the scenes, they have their own aircraft, and then some of the bosses fly their own jets, and they fly a couple of jets a weekend, different groups to the track. It's just a massive business.
Watkins Glen is a special place too, which is where they're headed to this weekend. 90-lap race, 2.45 mile road course. He's been a regular there, Marcus, in the top 5, and he enters this race though 23rd place in the Sprint Cup series driver point standings, but he's got a good feel for the place, a regular in the top 5, as we say in events gone by.
Well, he's got a real chance of winning there. That's it.
The last road course, I think we expected him to do better. It was kind of a gimme, wasn't it? He didn't have the success that we expected to see him have, but Watkins Glen is somewhere he should have great success.
Let's hope that happens.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, we'll take a break, and on the way, here's a look at what's still on the schedule for tonight's show.